26 on the Convention of the Rights of the Child. This is the first in a series of tools within the How to Child Rights series that's designed to support the implementation of General Comment 26 on children's rights and the environment. My name is Flavia Zaka, and I work at the intersection of environmental law and human rights. And I'm currently working through Terre, Germany, to contribute to this broader initiative to translate General Comment 26 into practical thematic guides to be used by civil society organizations. And it's my pleasure to be moderating the session today. But before we dive in, I just want to ensure that everyone can understand what I'm saying. And I want to bring your attention to the fact that while I'll be speaking in English, there is simultaneous interpretation available in Arabic. So please check the instructions in the chat box, and you will see a globe on the screen where you can choose your preferred language. The session this afternoon at 15:30 Central European Time will be interpreted in French and Spanish. So we invite you to type your name and your organization and where you're currently based in the chat box if you're inclined, just so that we can all get a sense of who's present and where everybody's from. And in the meanwhile, a few words on the context that brings us here today. Human rights treaties are living things. They are meant to be reinterpreted constantly to take into account the challenges that arise that threaten the very rights that are inscribed in these treaties. When the Convention on the Rights of the Child came into force almost exactly 35 years ago this month, these crises, the idea of biodiversity loss, pollution, and climate change, they were not as urgent as they appear to be today, as they're felt to be today. And these crises now, we know, shape children's lives profoundly and disproportionately. General Comment 26 was developed by the Committee on the Rights of the Child with input from thousands of children worldwide to clarify how states' obligations under the Convention apply in the context of these three crises. And while the comment itself is not legally binding per se, it is the authoritative interpretation on the Convention, and it's an essential tool for assessing state compliance with the Convention. It can be used in a myriad of ways, including to catalyze legislative change across jurisdictions and to strengthen the participation of children in environmental decision-making, among other ways. And some of the paths in which General Comment 26 can be used are going to be made explicit in the guide that we're launching today, with an eye to how civil society organizations specifically can use General Comment 26. The aim of this session is threefold. First, to introduce some useful tools for the implementation of General Comment 26. We want to highlight how GC26 is already being relied on and can be further used by civil society organizations to advance children's rights. And we are hoping to share stories, exchange experiences, and hopefully spark new collaborations among the participants today. Finally, it's significant that today, September 9th, coincides with the International Day of Education Under Attack and the Africa Climate Summit. The issues at the heart of General Comment 26 are being echoed across many global forums right now, underscoring the timeliness of this conversation. Before I go into the agenda for the day, a couple of housekeeping and safeguarding notes. First, if you have any questions during the webinar, we kindly ask you to use the question and answers box that is dedicated to this, that you can see on your screen. If you are an adult attending the session, please connect your camera when speaking. Otherwise, you can stay on mute and turn off the camera. If you are a child and you're inclined to speak, you can feel free to keep your camera on or off. And please note that, again, the session today is recorded. The recording will be made available on the How to Child's Rights series webpage. And will be shared with participants after this session. Now, since we want this webinar to be safe and an inclusive space for everyone, but especially for the children that are joining us, I want to remind us of some safeguarding considerations specific to children. We encourage all speakers and participants to use non-technical language as much as possible and to avoid abbreviations, although I know that I will occasionally fail at this myself. Part of the beauty of this gathering is that we have people from many different parts of the world, from many different disciplines, across age groups. And so listening with respect is a prerequisite for a fruitful conversation. And we also remind you that it is our shared responsibility to make sure that children feel safe during the session. And any safeguarding concerns can be directed to Susanna Rutai from Child Rights Connect, who is the child safeguarding focal point today. Her email address will be pasted in the chat box. So again, welcome everybody, including those of us that just joined the session now, and a special welcome to the children and the child and youth-led organizations in attendance today. This launch is organized as part of the How to Child Rights series by Child Rights Connect Working Group and Child Rights and Environment, the Children's Environmental Rights Initiative, Terre, and Save the Children, with the support of the CEDA-funded Civil Society Strengthening Program. So I will now go through the agenda for the day and kindly ask our panelists to turn on their videos when I mention their name. So today we will hear some words of welcome from Mikiko Otani, who is president of the Child Rights Connect and global lead for the How to Child Rights series. We will then pose some questions on Mentimeter so that we can get to know a little bit more about each of us. This will be followed by some remarks from Professor Dr. Sophie Kiladze, who's the new chairperson of the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child. And this will be followed by some comments from Professor Philippe Jaffé, who will explain to us how the UN Committee uses General Comment 26 in its dialogue with states. And this will be followed by a presentation of the newly developed GC26 guide and the larger toolkit. This will be presented by Laure Abado, who is senior advisor at Save the Children and co-author of the guide. And this will be followed by a presentation of child-friendly tools to support implementation of GC26 by Child Rights Connect, Children's Advisory Team member Denis from Bulgaria. And then we will open the floor to reflections and experiences from the participants who are inclined to share, starting with Anju Pokharel from Youth Alliance for the Environment, Nepal, and Kartik Verma from UNEP Children Major Group, and Franziska Albrecht from Green Legal Impact, Germany, to help us kick off the session. So now I hand over the floor to Mikiko Otani, President of Child Rights Connect, for a few opening words on this series. Mikiko, the floor is yours. And I'm not sure if anybody else can hear Mikiko. I cannot. Mikiko, are you with us?
He might have fallen off, I think. Maybe we go to the next, come back.
Sorry, it wasn't clear to me what was said.
I think, Flavia, I think if Mikiko has dropped, her line has dropped, maybe she will join soon. We can continue with the next point, perhaps, and then go back to Mikiko. What do you think?
Sure. Would you like to get started with Mentimeter and then return to Mikiko?
Yes, let's do that.
Perfect.
Okay, so let me just do that. Do you hear me, everyone? Yeah. Hi. I will just share again I'm very technical. So here. I wanted to know if you can see this screen. So there's some instructions for the Mentimeter. You can either scan this QR code, or you can type. You go to menti.com, and you have a code to insert. Is 21 50 96 10, and it's in the chat box as well. Kim has put it in. So if I just wait a few seconds to see if that everybody has joined, I will ask you all with the first question to answer where you're from. Which country are you joining us from? I saw a lot in the chat box already. I see that's from all over the world. Welcome, everyone. Nepal, France, Ethiopia, Spain, Moldova, the Basque Country, Kenya, Palestine, Serbia, Norway. There's a lot of Norwegians and Indonesians. I can see it says Indonesia in a big, big letter. And Malawi is here, Cambodia. Welcome, everyone. Really amazing to have you all with us today. I will move to the next one. Amazing. I see also a huge delegation from Yemen. Welcome. Amazing. And we have Arabic translation interpretation this morning. So I'm really happy also that colleagues from Arabic speaking countries were able to join. The next question is, what is your main area of work? I mean, if it fits into environment, climate, or child rights, do you think you're more child rights or human rights? What do you work mostly with, basically, just to know the different backgrounds we have with us today and the diversity of it. And other, of course, what's really interesting to know, if you can type in the chat which other it is, it will be really interesting to know who you are, what do you work with, what brought you here to this GC26 discussion. I see that most of you are in the child rights sector, which is natural because you would know more about the How to Child Rights series as well, and about child rights, general comments and things like that. And I'm really happy to see environmental climate actors as well here, and those working on more human rights more generally. And other, please type in the chat, would be amazing to know. Then I just wanted to ask you before, we're going to talk a lot today. So how do you feel right now? What's your current level of understanding of UN General Comment 26 as such? Not how to implement it, but the General Comment 26, do you know about it perfectly? You understand what's in it? High, medium, basic, low understanding? Where do you stand right now? We hope to give you more elements so that you can feel also that you know more after this session. Most of you are in the middle, so that's really a good sign. And it's a good sign to be able to discuss perhaps the next element, which is the focus of today. How would you rate your current understanding of how to support implementation of General Comment 26? How can civil society, yourselves, how can you integrate it in your work? What you can do? Do you feel clear about it? We want to make it even more inspiring and clear today with the experiences we'll share, but just to ask you at this stage, how do you feel? Medium as well is the winner here. So wonderful. So it seems maybe some of you already do some work or know what needs to be done, and some of you would want to learn more today, which, because I see on the right-hand side of the screen, says low and basic. So really, really welcome. Very happy to have you all here. I would like to then stop for now this sharing and go to Mikiko, if Mikiko is here, if we can hear Mikiko. Do you know if Mikiko came back?
She's not connected right now, Flavia.
So Flavia,
Okay,
I
thanks for letting me know.
To you. Yeah. Thank you.
Then perhaps we can give the floor to Professor Dr. Sophie Kiladze, if she is still with us. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you well.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, dear colleagues, dear children. I'm especially happy that we have children on board and that you have involved children in the elaboration of the guidelines. This is something very, very important and directly connected to the 12th article of the CRC. I would like to thank, first of all, Save the Children and all stakeholders who worked on this great initiative. GC26 is a huge step forward, and many of you participated in the elaboration process. Along with many other highlights, I find that the fact that GC26 explicitly confirmed the right of each child to clean, healthy, and sustainable environment is the most valuable achievement in the field of environmental protection of children. The recognition of this right is the first step. However, what makes the real difference, it is its implementation on the grassroots. Now, unfortunately, the whole UN human rights protection system is under a huge crisis. This has different facets and this has different phases, including the CRC sessions and pre-sessional working groups are cancelled. CSO fundings are cut everywhere almost. I would like to take this opportunity and thank all of you who signed the letter to the UNSG to support the CRC and the whole UN human rights system. In this extremely difficult time, it is crucial that you keep working on initiatives which will support and guide civil society organizations how to implement the General Comment number 26 and how to achieve tangible results for children on grassroots. I find these initiatives are extremely helpful and keeps human rights system alive. I'm sure that today my colleagues Philippe and tomorrow my colleague Benyam will go in depth how General Comment 26 is integrated in the CRC's work in details. And I'm wishing you excellent workshop ahead, and I wish a lot of such kind of great initiatives once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Kiladze, and thank you for underscoring the gravity of the general comment, particularly around the right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. Professor Jaffé, if you are ready to provide a few further words of context.
Sure. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you well, yeah.
Thank you. So just mention that Mikiko wrote to me on WhatsApp and she's asking if you have another link for this session or if there's only one. So maybe someone can get in touch.
Noted. Thank you.
Okay, so hello everyone. I have a really easy task, which is to say that you can just read the 60-page document on guidance that you've produced, because it's such a great document. You don't really need me to make a few tepid remarks. But I have a job to do and I will. And this is guidance that I think just underscore is meant to empower children and everyone who cares to act amid our urgent planetary crisis. Let me also say that the journey to GC26, and I really mean this, is rooted in children's activism. It was triggered by the 2019 child petitioners that sent a complaint to the committee, alleging that their rights were being violated by polluting states. This was a big milestone. And this led the committee to prioritize environmental rights, and GC26 emerged out of a dynamic, inclusive process that reflected children's input and expertise, as well as the perspectives of human rights and experts and environmental organizations. It recognizes that a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment is both, and this is important, not only an independent human right, but also a critical prerequisite for the realization of all children's rights. GC26 dovetails with broader UN human rights and environmental frameworks by providing authoritative clarification on how environmental harm undermines children's rights. It also sets a new global standard at the heart of the convention, and it reinforces the mandates synergically of regional bodies such as the African Committee or the Inter-American Court of Human Rights. GC26's holistic approach ensures that climate and ecological justice are mainstreamed and that they are not treated as peripheral concerns. GC26 urges states to incorporate environmental rights into national legislative and constitutional frameworks and public policies. And it calls for comprehensive cross-sectoral action in protecting children's interests from education and healthcare to public participation and access to justice, just to mention those. The adoption of GC26 transformed how the committee operates. We now systematically consider environmental impacts in our country reviews, in our concluding observations, and dialogues with states parties. The committee has updated its clusters for state party reporting by introducing a new dedicated section on children's rights and the environment. So reporting and advocacy efforts must now align with this expanded mandate. Civil society organizations must seize the opportunity to elevate environmental issues in national reports to the committee. Let it be said that the committee uses GC26 as a living instrument. It requests states to report on measures taken to mitigate environmental harms affecting children. It evaluates legislative policy and institutional responses to environmental degradation. It encourages robust participation of children and civil society in shaping national strategies, and it pushes states to build resilient systems to protect children's environmental rights. And it reviews the processes now explicitly that address environmental hazards, climate change, and children's unique vulnerabilities. States must show how they provide remedies and ensure meaningful child participation in environmental decision-making. Also, and it's fitting for today, GC26 spotlights the indispensable role of civil society and child human rights defenders. The committee's guidance makes this very clear. Children's voices must be heard, they must not be ignored, and their activism must be protected. And states are obligated to create an enabling environment for advocacy and safeguard everyone against reprisals. For civil society, integrating environmental justice into children's rights advocacy is no longer optional. And let me stress 4 action points for civil society. 1, use the new reporting clusters to spotlight environmental rights and share data on environmental harm. 2, empower children even more to lead and participate in consultations, advocacy, and climate litigation. 3, keep collaborating regionally and globally to demand high standards of implementation, protection, and remedy for children affected by environmental crises. And 4, prioritize the inclusion and protection of marginalized groups, such as Indigenous children and those who live in disaster-prone areas. Let me conclude with a few takeaways. I believe GC26 signals a paradigm shift in how states, civil society, and UN bodies approach the intersection of child rights and environmental justice. The committee will rely on the vigilance, expertise, and creativity of civil society organizations and child advocates to ensure that GC26's principles are reflected in real-world outcomes. And let it be a rallying point. Every report, every policy, and every action must be assessed through the lens of protecting the environmental rights of the world's children. We must all at the same time enshrine this right. We must demand robust accountability from governments. We must celebrate the activism of young defenders. And by the way, we must also save the planet. So thank you very much for your great guidance. And thank you even more for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Professor Jaffé, for these incisive words. I think a paradigm shift is a very apt way of framing what GC26 does. I am told that Mikiko is perhaps back online. Mikiko, if you're here, would you like to take the floor? I hear breathing.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Yes, sorry, my computer got frozen, but I think you can proceed. And if the time permits, I would like to speak a little bit at the end. I think it's better.
If you prefer at the end, if that's it, so the timing is perfect for you to take the floor now. But if you prefer at the end, then
okay, great. So then,
excellent.
Although the order is a little bit different, but thank you so much for me to say a few words. So first of all, Sophie Kiladze, Chair of the Committee on the Rights of the Child, and Philippe Jaffé, a member of the committee, warm welcome and thank you so much. So we are so pleased to have your presence at this webinar, and speakers from the civil society, children's advisory team, and dear colleagues and friends, children and young people. Thank you so much for participating in this very important webinar today. The webinar is for the launch of the General Comment number 26, Guidance for Civil Society. This topic is crucially important for all of us. How can civil society, children and youth support the implementation of GC26 to advance children's right to a healthy environment? Today's webinar is also very significant, as this is the first How to Child Rights series webinar since the Child Rights Connect became the host for this series in May this year, 2025. So let me introduce a little bit about the How to Child Rights series, How to Child Rights, for those who are not yet familiar. So this How to Child Rights is a platform that facilitates co-creation and peer learning on child rights in practice. It offers series of practical, high quality, tried and tested tools, guidance and case studies, and peer exchanges to support effective and innovative programming, including advocacy for children's rights across the civil society sector, in close collaboration with other actors, including academia. But today, we are privileged to have chair and a member from the Committee on the Rights of the Child, because it is also so important for the How to Child Rights to collaborate with the Committee on the Rights of the Child. So initiated by the Save the Children in 2022, it is developed in close collaboration with a broad range of trusted partners to support all practitioners within the sector, but not just the child rights sector, but go beyond. Such as today, I hope that we have participants from the environmental rights sectors as well, and across organizational, geographic, and language barriers. So we are trying to organize a webinar like today in 5 languages in 2 sessions, also thinking of time zones issues. So I would like to encourage all of you to support and engage with How to Child Rights series. More information is found in the dedicated page for this How to Child Rights in the Child Rights Connect website. So the topic of today's webinar, the launch of GC26 guidance, is the perfect for the How to Child Rights. And I am pleased to be part of the webinar as President of Child Rights Connect and Global Lead How to Child Rights, but also as a former member of the Committee on the Rights of the Child. And I very much appreciate the welcoming remark from the chair of the committee, Sophie Kiladze. And I found that Philippe Jaffé, your presentation is perfect, very practical and very energizing. Thank you so much. As you already said, the GC26 is the result of the strong request and the support from the children and the civil society to advance children's right to environment over 2 years collaboration. But to be used effectively by civil society, children and youth, the GC26 needs practical tools such as the guidance. So I'm deeply appreciate the hard and dedicated work of each one of you who contributed to developing the guidance. And I'm so excited to learn about the guidance and the experience of the civil society colleagues, and on the top of that, from children today. Thank you so much. Back to you, Flavia.
Thank you so much, Mikiko. Thank you for setting the context and for providing actually the perfect transition to Laure as she presents us with the guidance that's being launched today. Laure, I see your presentation, but I do not hear you.
I'm sorry, my computer is also creating some problems for me today. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mikiko. Thank you, Sophia and Philippe. And I will now take you all to know a bit more about this guidance that we developed on General Comment 26, how can civil society support implementation? So as you hear in the title, it's really the aim of this guidance is to help us, civil society, understand General Comment 26 and really use it and ensure it is a daily tool for us in our work for children's rights and for environmental protection around the world. This guidance was developed by myself, but also Francis Sheehan and Constanza Martinez in close collaboration with our colleague Jonas Schubert from Terre des Hommes, and myself, I work at Save the Children. But just so you know, we really worked in a huge collaborative way because we use the How to Child Rights series methodology, which is very much based on co-creation, collaboration across organizations. So we stopped doing guides alone for our own people, and we really tried to put our heads together, our experiences together when we do case studies and guidances, etc. So thank you to all of you. I know many of you are here today who actually supported with inputs, written inputs, consultations online. About 200 of you have actually provided inputs, and 70 of you have co-sponsored this guidance. And much of the people involved initially and at the core of this are involved in something called the Save the Children CEDA-funded Civil Society Strengthening Program, which allows us to do, it's a lab for this kind of work for us, at least at Save the Children. And really, it's focused on civil society around the world. 70% of the funds goes to civil society. And this guidance represents a lot what they have been doing, all of you here. But also the work of Child Rights Connect's working group on child rights and environment. So much of this activity was really a priority for us under this working group. I want to tell you now what's in this guidance. So you will see it's 3 parts. It gives an introduction, who is it for, what is in it, and how to use it. Basically, it says use whatever you need from this guidance. It's quite long, so go into the section that makes sense to you and what you want to know more about. That's what it means in this part. Part 1, so-called part 1, is what's the general comment. It says that what it is, what kind of tool is this, and already the committee member Philippe Jaffé has already explained what this is about. Interpreting the Convention on the Rights of the Child, why it is important, and what does it include. So really like going through it, it takes you through it, and with comments and tips in relation to this, to General Comment 26. And part 2 is really the heart of this guidance. So if you look at part 1, it's a bit putting everybody on the same page to understand what's there and to understand what is what. And the second one is really what can we do with General Comment 26? How can we integrate it in our work? And I will go more in depth into these 6 sections in a second. It also includes annexes. So the annexes are really here to help, especially for some of you, it's more that you want to know more about the history of the right to a healthy environment or children's right to a healthy environment. That's Annex 1, for example. Annex 2 looks at more in depth on what General Comment 26 says. So a bit more detailed comments, definitions, a bit like for those who really would like that. It's because we are all different and we analyze information differently. So it's really different annexes to help different types of audiences. And Annex 3, I think it could be relevant to some of you who work maybe on sector-specific rights, education, health, etc., because it looks at what does the CRC says, the Convention on the Rights of the Child says, and then what does the General Comment 26 say about it. Annex 4 is about days, just to help you maybe with advocacy, giving you opportunities to talk about this general comment. And then there's acronyms and definitions. So who is this for? It's really for civil society organizations, but not only, it's also other stakeholders. And when we say civil society organization, we think broad, like child rights actors, environmental actors, but not only, like humanitarians, development, like we work in different sectors, lawyers working on advocacy at different levels, but also children and youth who are already involved, who know these things already, can feel that the guidance can speak to them. But it's not written in a child-friendly manner, and Denis later will actually share child-friendly material. So I just want to say we cannot pretend it's a child-friendly document. It's not, but it can be useful for those children and youth who think they know a lot already and want to look into it. So again, if I go back to part 1, I'm not going to go more in detail here, but just to tell you, it really tells you what it is. It tells you how it greens the convention, why it is important, what's the role of civil society. It really tell you that in the comment, for example, in the general comment, it has a title in the end. It says General Comment on Child Rights and the Environment with special focus on climate change, but tells you, for example, climate change is not only in that part, the last part of the general comment. It explains that all this general comment applies to the triple planetary crisis and all situations, environment, pollution, biodiversity, and climate change. For example, just to give you a sense of what does it say. And there's, of course, boxes with definitions and things like that for those to whom a general comment is a new thing, for example. And the heart, here we go. So part 2 is really the heart of general comment, the guidance on general comment. And you will see that it gives a sense of, it gives 4 elements. In each of the 6 sections, it gives an entry point. What does the general comment say about something? And then it gives some activities that you can do. And then it gives examples, and then it gives you a list of resources available that at least we knew about when we developed it. So many of you will recognize your own resources or case studies in this list of resources. So section 1 is about promoting and raising awareness about General Comment 26. You cannot do advocacy on anything without knowing about it. So this is really about the importance of awareness raising and promotion of General Comment 26 as such. Part 2, section 2, is about strengthening the capacity of the duty bearers, who they are, why, it's a little bit the focus really on the duty bearers and in their diversity. Section 3 speaks about activities that would strengthen the capacity of children to participate in decision making relating to environment and climate change. And here I will say a bit more about that in a second. And we will hear also from some colleagues about what they're doing on that. Part 4 is about advocacy at various levels. So advocacy for the implementation of General Comment 26 at national, regional, global level, in child rights discussions, in human rights discussions, in environmental discussions. How can we integrate that there? It also includes in relation to how to influence child rights impact assessments of carried out in countries, etc. And Connie in the afternoon will talk more about that section. We will have a bit divided, but I will just tell you also about the part 5, which is focusing on the business sector, how to strengthen the capacity and accountability of the business sector in respect to children's right to a healthy environment. And part 6 is about holding governments accountable. And here you will find information like how do you integrate environmental issues in reporting to the UNCRC committee? Who has done it? How did they do it? There's examples of that. How did they include it in the UPR, Universal Periodic Review reporting? Or litigation, can you use general comment in litigation? So things like that. So I'm not going to focus on this one, but we will share these slides with you. I wanted to say a word about the capacity of children to participate. So the guidance gives you really an overview of children's participation rights, what the CRC, the convention says, and then what General Comments 26 says. For example, it says that children are active human rights defenders who must be protected by the governments. And it looks at what governments are required to do and what civil society can do to support that. How do you institutionalize children's participation in decision-making on environmental issues, for example? And as I said earlier, every section has like entry points, practical actions that you can undertake, which are in no way exclusive, and then examples and resources. This part I said Constanza will talk about in the afternoon session, and you will find these slides later on. I also want to say we have actually prepared slides for all of you we put online after this webinar on the guidance. So you can pick and choose which ones you want, and you can adapt them to your needs. So it makes it easier for you to share with others. So I just want to say a few words more just about this section 6, because Section 6 about holding governments accountable, as I said, it talked about, if you see, when I said reporting the UNCRC to UPR and to the African Committee on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, etc., the human rights mechanisms, you see it in 6.2. There's examples of that here. There is also making states accountable by providing information to environmental accountability mechanisms. How do you bring children's rights and children's participation into these kind of monitoring mechanisms? And we have examples of some of you who have done that. And the first part is about social accountability. We use it a lot in development and humanitarian programs, and it happens a lot at country, very, very local level. When you want to assess the health system, the education system with children, how are they impacted by climate and environmental degradation? What can we do? So this kind of dialogue between very local accountability processes between children and decision makers or service providers. That's 6.1. We have examples of that too. And finally, 6.4 is about litigation. How do we use in litigation? And no, Franziska here is going to talk also what they do in Germany on that. So basically, this is what I wanted to share with you about this. In addition, first also like encouraging you to use this guide. Just check it out. What's in there? Is there something useful for your work? And also give feedback, like send information to the How to Child Rights series if you have any suggestions. We have it in French, now in Spanish, in English, and in Arabic, the guidance now. And I wanted to say a word that this guidance is part of a toolkit. As I said earlier, it's a joint initiative. So it continues. We will have explainers coming up or small guides that are more deep dive into specific areas. And Flavia here is working on that and leading this work together with Jonas from Terre des Hommes. And they have already started drafting with some of the organizations different guides on children's right to a healthy environment. What does GC26 say about it? What can we do about it? Access to justice in relation to GC26 as well. Business accountability, child participation, and right to education. And this is also based on consultation and with suggestions made by civil society on what to focus on first when we deep dive, because also it will help to know what to monitor when you want to look in your country, how it looks like. You can use this guide to help you. What kind of questions to ask yourself? How does it look in relation to education and climate in my country, for example? So I think if you want to engage with this, you have the contact details of Flavia and Jonas, because actually, if we are using this participatory methodology, we really want people who care about these topics to be active and involved in shaping this guidance so they actually respond to the needs out there. So yeah, encouraging you to engage with that. Yeah, so over from me, I'm done. And if you have any questions, just please write me in the Q&A box. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Laure. That was extremely enriching. I've spent a lot of time with the guide, but I'm always absorbed in you every time its topics come up. If I understood correctly, it's Denis that will be giving a glimpse of his work. Denis, are you with us right now?
Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you so much for joining.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Firstly, let me introduce myself. I'm Denis, I'm 17, and I'm from Bulgaria. I'm a part of Child's Rights Connect, Child's advisory team. I will talk about it a bit later, but I just want to share that I might have met some of you at the 59th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council, where we focused on children's voices and free pre-primary and secondary education. Why am I sharing this? I believe that the topic of education is something really important for every child. And so I think that the education should be the best that it could offer for everyone around the world. This includes educating us on topics such as environmental rights, climate change, and stuff like that. So if we could go to the next slide. Okay. Firstly, what is Child's Advisory Team, or as we call it, the CAT? The CATs, we're a group of adolescents who, children and adolescents who are under 18 years old. And the main things that we do is to advocate for the children who have had a time explaining their problems that they face related to their backgrounds or in life. And we share their vision, we share their problems, and we try to solve them on international level. And we actively participate in decision making, propose ideas, share opinions, as I said, and support the processes that affect the children, as not everyone has an easier time to share their problems and be heard. This presentation will be presented in the second session by Dulce, who is another child activist from Ecuador. And she will talk about it in Spanish so that everybody could understand. So if we could move to the next slide. Okay. And who are the members of the CAT? Let's start by that. We are children, as I said, and adolescents from 10 to 18 who were chosen to be a part from an open call. We are diverse representatives. We all come from different backgrounds, different schools, different countries. We all share different stories that build us. I have seen problems here in Bulgaria that I share. Dulce has seen problems in Ecuador. Everyone has shared their stories and their ways of solving problems together. And this diverse group working together with adult facilitators from Child Rights Connect is the group that tries to empower children, to give them a way for them to express themselves. So if you could move to the next slide. And now I will talk about the general comment number 26 and why did we decide to work on it? It's no surprise that this document raises awareness about the problems that we face and the impact on climate change that does on children's rights. This impact is huge, as we already shared, and climate change is an issue that is everywhere. It's visible. It's not something that is hidden or that is unseen on everyone. We started to work on the GC26 just to have a way for the children to understand what is happening. And so we made these school kits for an easier way that's more dynamic, more interactive, more fun for the children to understand what is happening around them and to empower them, to help them have different ideas that they could share and maybe fight those problems on a local or national, regional, or even international level if they have great ideas. So if we could move to the next slide. Well, what do those school kits include? Firstly, you have presentation that is great as it shows a lot of stuff. It talks about what climate change is, the primary causes of climate change effects, children's rights to clean and healthy environment, and what could be done about climate change, how to reduce our own carbon footprints, how to help everyone reduce theirs. And the fun thing is that it's easily accessible. You could just go to the site of Child Rights Connect, go to resources, publication for children, and there you can see our school kits that are on the environmental right and climate change. It's done in 3 different languages so that everybody could learn it. It's not something that only people who know this language or that language should know. No, this is something that everybody needs to understand, not only adults, children. And so we have translated it into 3 languages. It's English, it's in French, and in Spanish. So if you could move on. Here is again the list of what this presentation contains. As I said, what is climate change, the causes, and how it affects us, plus how we can change it. Let's move on to the next slide. And here is our activity guide. It's a fun way for everyone to learn and to do something. Firstly, the most interesting part for me is that we, a group of children, built this for other children so that they could learn through a better way for them. And we not only did it for like one version that works for everyone. No, we made 2 different versions for different ages. Firstly, ages from 7 to 12, and then ages from 13 to 17, where each guide and activity book have their own way of sharing the problem and bringing kids to give the solution. So this is a part of the school kits that we did, provides extra information on the for the presentation that they have already looked through, explains climate change and the impact on children's rights, includes practical activity suggestions. You can see some of them later. And as I said, it's available in 3 different languages, as nobody should be excluded from this. Everybody should learn. So if we could move to the next slide. So here are how the 2 different school kits look. They may look really similar from the first page, but the different approaches are really important. And if we move on right now to the next slide, you could see what some of the different practical stuff are. For children who are aged between 7 and 12, it's a fun way or a creative way for them to understand the problem, like drawing about future climate, designing eco-friendly houses, personal climate promises, and games on recycling ways. It not only shows the problem, but ways to solve them. Like there's a game that is for different types of waste, and in which waste bin it goes, does it decompose or not, stuff like that. A way for children to learn through games. As we all know, we all have been children. Some of us are still children, and we all know that the best way to learn something is to make it fun for us. And activity workbook for a bit of older kids from 13 to 17 deepens the reflection, identifies local climate disasters as just a problem in the workbook, a problem where you have to tell what's your local climate change disasters that may happen, how do you fix, what can you do to fix them if possible. There's something to write an article or letter about climate future, create a personal action plan of what should happen and from which year to which, so that you can just find a way to implement those plans and environmental commitments and campaigns. So if you can move on to the next slide. So how to use those school kits? As I already said, they're easily accessible. You just go to Child's Rights Connect site, go to resources, publication for children, and there you can see it. It's one of many of our publications that we as a CAT have done. And it's easy to use. It's easy to use in school classrooms. It's a way for teachers to have an easier way to teach children about these issues. Here I'm gonna give a personal story. I, as a as a child activist, I have used these school kits in Bulgarian. I have translated a bit of them, and there was an ecological school, an eco school here near our region. I went there and I taught children. I said, hey, let's learn a bit by playing different games so that you can see the issues, you can identify them, and you could just find a way for you to apply those changes in your own personal life. And the children were amazed. They started playing. We had different games. Because the children were younger, we used most of the things from the first school kit. It was really fun, as it was not only easy for the teachers to see what our way of implementing environmental stuff is, but children learn through it, to play, and it was fun for me to watch how children learn and have fun at the same time. So how to use? As I said, it's an easy way to use in school classrooms with groups of children in other occasions, for example, events such as this one. It's translated and shared in many different languages. So if you could, as I think just said in the chat, you can translate the kits for other languages, and we can put them on our site so everyone could have a way to go and see the translations. And it's a way for children to be involved in the decision making. And we just aim to empower those children, to give everyone a way to represent themselves and their region. And I finally want to end by just addressing a question that I saw a bit before. It was by Laure Gerges. Sorry if I mispronounced the name. It was a question. We all know that children's environment and surroundings have big impact on them and what drives them. So what's the solution? Should we just take the children out on the environment, or is it not really the best approach? Maybe there's other ways to handle it. My personal thought is that we have to show the children the problem, but in an easier way for them to understand. We don't have to show it all of the problems at once, as they may feel stressed. They may start thinking, something like, oh, there's no way to counter this as there's so many problems. No, there is a way. We just have to teach them what the problem is and to ask them, well, what do you think about this? What can we do? What do you think could happen? When it will happen? We just have to motivate the children to play, to find a way for them to make it easier. And so this was my presentation, and I hope you liked it.
Denis, thank you so much for this presentation. It was very, very clearly laid out, very multifaceted, and very courageous. Thank you for taking the time to give us a glimpse of this important work from your perspective and other children and youth. I have countless questions for you, Denis, and the other panelists, but we're rapidly running out of time. So I'm instead going to open up the floor to the rest of the participants to give us a glimpse of their experiences in working at the intersection of children's rights and environmental rights. We have a couple of guiding questions for you, although you can take them in different directions. We'd like to hear what is some of the work that you have done or are currently doing that draws on themes of the General Comment 26. Maybe whether there's a section of the guide on the General Comment that might be particularly interesting or useful to you. And if you have any words of advice for peers that are listening now on how to engage with these topics. To get us started and to get some inspiration, I will invite some of you who have already agreed to share some reflections to take the floor. Maybe we can start with Anju, if you're still on the call.
Thank you. Namaste and good afternoon, everyone from Nepal. So thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Are you hearing me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So before moving forward to the General Comment 26, I felt compelled to draw everyone's attention to a tragic incident that occurred yesterday in Nepal, here in Nepal. Young people, particularly representing from Generation G, they organized a peaceful protest against corruption and restriction on freedom of expression following the ban on several social media platforms. And during this protest, 19 youth, including children in school uniform, have already lost their lives, and more than 400 plus are in the hospital, injured and seeking medical care. And this heartbreaking incident represents a grave violation of children's civic and human rights, and it stands in direct contradictions to the Nepal's commitments on the international human rights instrument, including the Convention on the Rights of the Children. So we hope that the committee and everyone over here will take note of this violation and the incident and stand with the youth and children of Nepal. So moving forward, talking about the General Comment 26, I don't think I will be able to share much, but I will try my best. So at the General Comment 26 is very important because it has recognized something very clear, and that every child has a right to live in a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. So it also reminds the government of what they must do to protect that right. So, at the starting, we're very confused about the General Comment 26 and how to start the work on that. So keeping all those things in the side, there was a document in English, and we thought having a document in English wouldn't be enough. So with the support from the Save the Children in Nepal and Consortium Nepal and technical support from the Youth Alliance for Environment, we translated and localized General Comment 26 into a child-friendly version. And This version uses simple local language, so every children and youth can actually understand it and use it. And actually, for us, it was no longer just a document. It has become a very powerful tool for awareness and advocacy. So alongside with that, we focused on making youth and child networks aware about the Gender Government 26 and building capacity. So we worked with the groups like National Child Advisory Council, the Child Advisory Committee, and National Youth for Climate Action on Gender Government 26. Now, these children, these young advocates are using Gender Government 26 to speak up in grassroots programs, as well as in the policy dialogue, even at the national level. There is one example. While contributing to the Nepal's NDC process, this Gender Government 26 has really helped to push to clearly outline and integrate the children perspective in National Determined Contribution 3, which has already been submitted by the Nepal to the UNFCCC. So it's not only about the children. Civil society organizations also plays a great big role. So through the Siddha Sankalpa project and other platforms, we have we have provide orientation for different CSO partners, and these organizations are now more aware about Gender Government 26 and are using it in their own way to work on climate and child works related initiative. And importantly, we ensured that this localized and child-friendly version reached all the provinces of Nepal, and networks and civil society organizations could help us making it into the awareness program and the community events. But the Gender Government 26 is just not about the awareness. We have taken it as a tool for action as well. For example, it has been a great help to clearly show how climate change threatens the children's right to survival protections, health, education, food, and overall well-being. And we have incorporated, and it has supported us to prepare to reporting on the UPR reporting process as well. So, it also connect. It has also supported to connect strongly with the Nepal's climate action plan. As I already said, Gender Government 26 has supported to make our voices and to advocate to incorporate the children perspective, ensuring that children's conscience and the rights are reflected in the climate plan, such as NDC. So the climate policies also talked about the talked about the next generations and the environment safeguarding. And at the community level too, the many organizations like CCR Karnali, they are spreading awareness through their child clubs and the community events. And when children know their rights, they could speak up it in more. So at last, I would like to say is Gender Government 26 has not become just a piece of document for us. It has been a guiding light, and from this new discourse and guidance being launched today, and we hope to strengthen our work even more. So thank you.
Anju, thank you so much for these very enriching insights, and especially for joining us today when things are clearly unbelievably difficult and unreal. I echo Connie's comments. We stand behind you, and we're so grateful that you made time to be with us and are supporting this work, even in these circumstances. Maybe I will invite Franziska, Albrecht for a bit of a shift in tone, making a leap from child participation to holding businesses accountable for their impacts on climate change. Hi, Franziska.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Wonderful. Do you want me to share my presentation, or is one of you going to share it? Oh, there it is. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I have a couple of slides, but I mainly just designed them to make it easier for people to follow along with what I'm going to say, and also for the interpreters. I really appreciate that English is not everybody's first language. It's not my first language either, so bear with me. I would like to talk a little bit about GC26 and litigation, because that is something that I do in my work. And I think it's easier to illustrate with a concrete example. So I chose climate litigation in Germany, and I brought you a little bit of a timeline. So as all of you are probably aware, children and young people are disproportionately affected by the effects of the climate crisis. So it is natural that children are very interested in climate protection measures, and that they are also very unhappy when their governments don't do enough to protect them from the effects of the climate crisis. Germany is one of these governments that has had a hard time doing enough to protect children's rights in the face of the climate crisis, even though in 2016, Germany signed the Paris Climate Agreement and promised that it would do more. So after it became clear, after a few years, that not enough was happening, several groups of children, but also adults and several environmental organizations decided that they would take the government to court to fight for their rights and for better climate protection. So several lawsuits were filed between 2018 and 2020. And in 2021, the German Constitutional Court, which is the highest court in Germany, ruled that indeed the government had not been doing enough to protect not only the rights of children, but also the rights of children, and that the government has to implement climate protection measures to protect future freedom. Because if not enough is done now to protect the climate, then more will have to be done in the future. And then these measures that will be taken might have a larger impact on the freedom of us living in the future, but also of people who are maybe not even born yet living in the future. And the German government noticed this this ruling and actually implemented a few climate protection measures, but otherwise it basically continued with business as usual. This, of course, was very frustrating to a lot of people, especially a lot of children and young people. So in 2024, more than 54,000 people, along with several environmental NGOs, Greenpeace and German Watch, decided to sue the government again to demand better climate protection. And this is called the Zukunftsklage in German, which means basically like a lawsuit for the future. This is still ongoing. The court has not yet decided on this lawsuit. But personally, I am hopeful, or I would wish that the court might maybe also take GC26 into account, as well as other legislation and international agreements and what else there is. And I think, or at least to me, both GC26 and also the guidance that we now have matter a lot in similar cases, because they explicitly recognize the right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment, both in general and also the rights of children in environmental matters. And this is very important because German law does not recognize either of these explicitly. So our constitution, of course, has human rights protections, but it doesn't say outright that there is a right to a clean and healthy and sustainable environment, for example. So this is very helpful to have now this document that clearly states that there is something like that. And also, they underline that there is still a need for better access to justice, especially for children, because it is still much too difficult for children to defend their rights. And their voices are not heard enough. And what they also do, in my opinion, is they strengthen the claim to intergenerational justice, which means that children who are living today, but also future generations, are entitled to equal access to a healthy environment, to a good climate, and also to beautiful and diverse nature, as are adults living today. And therefore, to make things just, we must protect these goods today so that children can enjoy them in the future. That should be obvious, but unfortunately it isn't always. And this is why I'm of the opinion that GC26 and also the guidance are very important and can be very helpful. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to share my slides because that was a question in the chat.
Thank you for the very clear layout of strategic climate change litigation in Germany and how it connects to General Comment 26. I have a myriad questions for you, but maybe these can be conversations that take place in future workshops or over a glass of wine. I just want to cover slides can actually be circulated with the participants today when we share a link to the webinar. Perfect, thank you very much. And last but not least, of those that have volunteered to speak during this section of our presentation, Kartik, the floor is yours.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Very good afternoon from India and good morning, good evening, based on the place where you are. Again, for me as well, to begin with, a tragic thing which happened in Nepal. Last week I was in Nepal and such a beautiful place to be at, but hearing the tragic incidents and then people, of course, having exchange of communication. So, of course, this is something which is not we as a world look at, not as a children we look at, and neither as an institution. So, of course, a huge call to action from all human right based agencies, either it's human right, UN Human Rights, or the Committee on the Rights of Child, or any. So, can't say much, but yeah, our deep regards. To begin having a say on General Comment 26, so I was a part of an advisory team working with Committee on the Rights of Child and TDS Germany to formulate this. And the way it happened was which brought me into the core working of child rights, that why child rights matters, why child rights and their environmental rights really make sense. Before that, I was working in silos in my village, in my town. That really gave me understanding that, okay, this is also a way things should work out and things, this is the scope of work. Finally, after a lot of consultation, 16,000 input from children across the world, civil societies working together, we had General Comment 26 launched, and we also had a children, a child safeguarding, child-friendly document of General Comment 26. But when I was looking to the launch of this toolkit and this report, I was like really excited to see that what element it is focusing on from various point, again redefining my own understanding what more General Comment 26 can bring on the table, in what more better way it can be used to build capacity, in what more better way it can be used to hold government accountable and bring a lot of stakeholders on board to work collectively. In all this happening, I guess this act and stands as a very important tool, not just for everyone, but I'll talk specifically for myself even, that how it is gonna be much of help. Uh, Post General Comment 26, I had a chance to work with Children and Youth Major Group, which is one of the engagement constituencies of UN Environment Program. This General Comment 26 helped to initiate the first ever children engagement at United Nations Environment Assembly and the UNEP processes. So this act is this acts as a strong tool. And this is into the second year of working, and this is UNIA 7, the second, again, the second time we are pushing to have children engagement. And I really feel that this document is gonna be much of help pushing that why it makes sense, why it is important, and why government and all stakeholders much must come together, not just to talk this issue, but to really bridge the gap into policies and make frameworks which are viable, which can be implemented at all levels of working and functioning of any work a government is doing or any party which is doing. Uh, so, of course, United Nations Environment Assembly in seventh session is one of the coming thing which is happening in early December, and already working with colleagues who are already present in this call, and I can see Professor Phillips, Ms. Mikiko, and a lot of other people with whom I was really working on General Comment 26. So always excited, always happy seeing that the momentum haven't lost. And one thing during the launch of General Comment 26, which I was saying that I was really concerned that it is not just an yet another document. We had we are having General Comment 26. It simply means that we had 25 other comment. So a lot of track record that how things have worked out, and then that also give an idea that how things will move on. And we are also working on General Comment 26 right now. So a lot of things is happening parallelly. A lot of things have happened in past, and a lot of things will happen in coming time. But how we take it up is an important thing. As a civil society, as a government, as a UN agency, or as an individual, that is more important part. And I'm glad that I was part of this process because I can really see this moving. I can really see that this tool and instruments being used, and there is a huge scope. One of discussion which I was having with UNICEF here in India, talking about General Comment 26, that why it makes sense and what is something it brings on table. And I think there was nothing more than one sentence I would have said, that what General Comment does is the 26th one, that it gives a definition to child rights from an environmental angle. you know no matter it's any right, it have a correlation with environment, the surrounding we are in, and it have a huge impact on the future which we are talking about, which we are worried about, and for which we are having billions of dollars being invested in science and tech, that we want zero emission infrastructure and all. What about a children not having a healthy life, not coming to its huge potential it can have, and really putting risks to the world, to the future. So all these things at one side of corner, I think the most important thing, that how as I individually look at it, how I can do and contribute, right? I am 19-year-old. I have never thought that, okay, what would I do? It's a time to go college and study, right? But when I'm studying at my university, I really think that, oh, this is something can be correlated. I'm a student of environmental science, and then at every research paper I study and every lecture I'm having, I feel a strong correlation, because I was passionate enough to talk about, I was passionate enough to work on this, and I'm able to find a correlation. So it's all about creating that sense of awareness. It's all about creating that sense of consciousness that things matters, things are highly correlated, and the way forward is that what all resources I have, both on the knowledge material, on the tool, on the policy, on the guidance, and on the financial level, how this all things are correlated, can come together and work toward a better future. So I think this report, this tool is amazing. I also went to the kit which was for children to work on schools. That was also super amazing what I felt. And so we are having elco in my country here in India very soon, and then I would love to take it as some practical example. So it's not just about writing a piece of paper, it's not just organizing a consultation, it's not just doing some activity, but of course what we achieve at the end of the day is what is more important. So with all that, thank you, and it's so lovely to see all colleagues working previously, and I also hope to work in future. And yeah, have a good day.
Thank you so much for this presentation and for your work and your conviction and your enthusiasm. It's truly energizing. There are so many other people in attendance today from whom I would love to hear. I know that we have colleagues from Zambia and Malawi that are present, and it would have been wonderful to have heard from some of your work as well. I know that there is momentous stuff that's taking place in these regions. I think one of our lessons for today is that we need to organize more of these sessions for exchanging experiences. I think we're coming pretty rapidly to an end. Perhaps I will leave 1.5 more minutes for any last words from any other participant that would like to speak. You can feel free to raise your hands. And if that time frame is not at all alluring, then we can simply move on. There's a question. How can General Comment 26 be applied in a continuous war environment where the state and its institutions have collapsed, and there are more important priorities than a clean environment, such as security, food, health, and education, which are either non-existent or available only in small proportions? It's a powerful question. Professor Jaffé, would you like to address that? Or is your hand up for other reasons?
Thank you. I'm not even sure how my hand was raised, but I'm happy to comment on the question because obviously it puts us squarely in a situation where it's hard to get voices through to powers and authorities when there are such priorities such as survival. But I think the international community, humanitarian actors, big agencies have largely factored in environmental issues, even under grave emergencies. And I've seen this in national disaster plans. I see this also in the training of psychosocial personnel when emergencies occur. So there are a whole host of elements that are percolating into these situations regarding the environment. But these situations are so tragic that in most cases you're running around like a chicken without a head, and you're doing the best you can under the circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Kartik, did you have a response to the question?
Yes. So I think this suddenly strikes in my head based on a lot of debates which happens in my own university, is that there's a hell lot of other things in world to deal with than to talk about, having a healthy ride when one is dying with hunger. So I think again, aligning my thoughts with Professor Phillips' statement that whatever things which is happening in this world, either from the disaster perspective, either from the development perspective, or any other things, I think one thing for sure is that where as a world we want to move in, where as a world we want to look at. So and recently there was a dialogue happening, and one amazing statement which came is that it's not always possible to talk about this, but sometimes it's not always necessary to say. That is the hidden statement which need to be understood. Development for whom? Development for like human? How about environment, right? So everything have an intersection. That is what is very important to understand. If one is like one don't have a food, right, where is the health? If there's no health, where is the environmental health? So there's lot of things, lot of circles, and every circle is intersecting each other, from health perspective, from environment, from climate, from education. One who is not educated, who is not having right to education, how can we talk about having a good development in the social, economic, and other aspects? So I think we need to see, and we need to understand, and we need to believe in this fact that things are correlated, things are intersectional and very contextual. But one thing in common is that what we want to be at end of the day, where we want to move as a world, as a community, as a society. I think this is what would be my response. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very eloquently put. And I know that we have a single hand from one of the attendees. We are over time by 3 minutes, but I can't resist. Stanley, if you want to take the floor for a minute, it's yours. And you're on mute. I'm not sure if that's something that we can address.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. This is my first. I am from Papua New Guinea, a country in the Pacific north of Australia. Actually, I'm a human rights defender, and I know I'm concerned about the rights of the children. But since 2003, National Parliament passed a law. They call it cybercrime. Cybercrime, and that law it's really hard for us because I mean, to express our rights to defend the children or defend the victims of any, because I'm a human rights defender and I normally defend the people on what has been, like abuse of children and vulnerable and marginalized people. So I'm facing problem in the country because of that cyber crime. So is there, I mean, that's a question that I have now, because like most of the countries that, I mean, like what the presenters are presenting, it's like there's a freedom there. But in Papua New Guinea, we don't have the freedom now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that experience. If I understood correctly, the law on cybercrime is actually serving to suppress the expressions of environmental rights defenders. I think that is something that's experienced in many countries around the world, and it's an extremely important topic to address. We're actually going to have one of our thematic guides on General Comment 26 that focuses explicitly on environmental rights defenders. So stay tuned for the development of this topic in the weeks to come. I'm going to have to end our session here. This was an absolute delight. I wish I could continue these conversations in other platforms. You will hear from us by email. We're going to circulate the recording today, the slides that you saw from the various panelists, and there will be a few invitations for upcoming sessions as well. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you, Flavia, so much for your moderation.
It was such a pleasure.
Thank you all. And sorry for all of you who shared in the chat before we closed. Thank you for those who shared and for the question also in Arabic. Just to say, we think of you and all the children in Palestine. I read your question, but we were not able to respond. We all agree that the CRC convention applies there, even in these circumstances, but it's a hard time to make international law applicable. Thank you so much, Flavia. Thank you all for this session, and for all of you participants to be continued. And there's so much hardship right now for many of you. We think of you all, so we're with you, and we're on this together. So take care, everyone. And those of you who know people who missed this and want to join in the afternoon, we have at 3:30. We have a session with interpretation in Spanish, French, and Portuguese. It's confirmed Portuguese as well we will have in the afternoon. Thank you all. Take care.